Welcome to the Well Built Business Podcast. I'm Chelsea Fournier, systems strategist and founder of the Well Built Business Method. Now, I get it. Operations isn't the flashiest part of entrepreneurship. It's not the thing people usually want to focus on, but it is what will keep you in your zone of genius and away from burnout. If you're a service provider or expert based business owner, and you've hit a point where you realize structure, clarity, and clean systems are what actually unlocks sustainable growth, you're in the right place. In each episode, I talk about what it takes to build a business that supports your life, not one that constantly drains it. I'm really glad you're here. Let's dive in. So, friends, this is probably the most personal and transparent episode yet. I'm going to be sharing what's actually happening in my business life as I prepare to launch a brand new business in less than 2-ish weeks is my goal. We'll see if that happens. It will happen. It will be launched. The 2-ish weeks is feeling a little flux just because it is summer. And my son just unexpectedly had an entire week where his school was canceled. So we've had some hiccups, as we all do when we're planning something. So I want to start just first talking about why on earth would I be launching another business? Many of us creative entrepreneurs are multi-passionate, have lots of different skills, jack of all trades, right? And what I'm doing right now is I am just ditching the idea that I have to niche down and have a separate account and a separate marketing plan for every single idea that I have. I'm really sinking into my midlife, multi passionate, kind of messy era, but I'm doing it intentionally, not chaotically. Because what's been happening is I've been doing a lot of energetic work to shift into a state of receiving. Been very intentional about mindset work that I've been doing, about working with different plant tinctures and really taking care of myself, if I'm honest, really upping my self-care game and investing in care that I need for my health. And I know it's putting me into another frequency of being able to receive and also to hold more. So that's the energetic side of it for me, is really listening to what's coming through instead of just pushing forward because I'm really slowing down enough to hear what's coming through. And so the clear guidance that I have been receiving in meditation and oracle card pulls, in little signs all throughout my days, is that I'm truly meant to keep Well Built Business active. I love this brand. I love the work that I do. I love the offers that I have when someone books in for a VIP day or a business systems audit or a business soul scan. Like, I get really excited. It all feels really good how it is. And I've been feeling this really strong pull to reconnect to my primary career that actually got shelved for personal reasons before the pandemic. I'll talk about what that is and what I'll be relaunching, but this evolution just, it hasn't happened accidentally. It's not me being flaky, right? And I think many of us who are multi-passionate get nervous about that. In fact, just recently, I posted over on my personal Facebook about the idea of relaunching my primary career, my previous career. And I was like, oh my gosh, people are going to think I'm so flaky. And I had this hesitation. And then there was a woman who bought a course from me. I had run a mastermind that was a group experience several years ago. And this woman, I hadn't had a chance or an occasion to connect with her in a couple years. And she reached out. We had a lovely conversation about how much she learned from me and learned from that course. And she was just expressing some gratitude, which was really lovely. And she said, thank you for just being willing to evolve. And she shared some things in her life that have evolved that I was able to cheer her on. And I was so excited for her, right? And she said something to me in a DM that really just touched me. She said, well, I would say that your primary product line is growth. And she put growth in all capital letters. And then she went on, we were just kind of going back and forth. And she said, you know what? I believe it's true that you're a maximizer. You're never stagnant. And she really thanked me for being someone who's willing to evolve publicly because it does kind of give her permission. She said, it makes me feel better that I'm not going to do the same thing for the rest of my life. I've changed dramatically from what I had been doing when I signed up for that course. So I'm not really using the course itself, but I took a lot away just from being in your presence and seeing how you move and how you grow. And that meant a lot to me. especially because I was getting a little bit nervous. I've run a marketing agency, I've done coaching, I've run masterminds, I've done speaking. Like, does it look flaky to other people? But I think we're always hardest on ourselves. And so I share this because if you're feeling pulled in multiple directions or sensing a new chapter emerging, that pull might be worth listening to. I will be honest, sometimes that pull is not worth listening to. And that's when I'm just like, wow, am I just excited about change? And is my ADHD feeling tickled by a new thing I get to learn, right? And that's really where discernment comes in. That's for me where connecting to my intuition comes in, where putting myself in spaces and places where I can be held by someone else for energy work comes in. And it could be whatever feels right for you, journaling, meditation, making sure that you're carving out that time to be honest with yourself about whether it's shiny object syndrome or really whether it's a calling and it's part of your journey to do more than one thing. What does that look and feel like? So I'm going to give you the quickest rundown of now the three brands, three businesses I'm going to be running. Even though I hybrid homeschool our son, I work part-time, and somehow these have all just come to be. So the well-built business, here what I do on this podcast and in all of the services I offer through this brand, it's all about intuitive business strategy and operations consulting. I am focusing on sharing my one-off engagements, business soul scans, rooted VIP days, and business systems audits. I intentionally designed each of those offers as a short-term engagement so that I have the capacity to follow other passions, to work with someone very intensely and be there to hold that space. And then they're not on my calendar again. That's just the way that I've designed these offers to be really potent. And of course, people can rebook, but it's not a long-term commitment. Now, decide with Chelsea. I don't think I've ever talked about this here on the podcast, but this is a side quest that has turned into something really meaningful. So, this sprung from an idea that I had to share my own adulting journey and to share some of the resources, products, services that I choose and love that make being a responsible adult a little bit easier in this chaotic world. And I launched this just as an experiment towards the end of last year because one of the things that I am a member referral for or like a partner with is something called Crowd Health. It's an alternative to traditional health insurance. And I figured, you know what, I'll start some videos about this on TikTok before the end of the year because that's when open enrollment is. And a lot of people are considering alternatives to health insurance if they're realizing the cost of theirs has skyrocketed. And so that went really well, I'll be honest, just financially for how much was coming out of the couple videos I was creating a week. And so then I have now settled into doing 2 TikToks a day, Monday through Friday, and creating 2 blog posts a month that are on some of these resources that I'm now an affiliate of that I genuinely use. It is wild how much has come in through this. And so right now I'm focused on systematizing it so I can keep doing that amount of output and continue to grow without it taking over a ton of time. And so I'm creating some systems around that. But now what's launching new is I'm circling back to my primary profession, which was as an attorney. I'm a licensed attorney, and I focused a lot when I had my practice up in Maine on trademark law. And I'm going to be able to pick it back up now, almost a decade later from when I last was really full-time growing a law practice. And it's exciting. It's feeling exciting to come back with fresh eyes and all this decade of business building experience that I've gained since. And so much has also changed as far as software and resources of how to actually run a trademark practice that also gets me excited. I'm really excited to jump in and start learning things. Now, the thread that connects all three is really clarity on what I want, honesty about my capacity, and creating systems that allow each one to run without requiring all of me all of the time. So I want to talk about what I'm doing before I launch something new. It's landed, it feels like a great idea. I'm moving forward, I'm buying domain names, I'm getting intuitive downloads about how I'm going to message this. I'm excited, but I had to get really honest about where my current businesses stood. And I believe this is where a lot of entrepreneurs get it wrong. I have done this in the past. Launching the new thing while the existing thing is still kind of held together with duct tape and a prayer. So what I've been focusing on for the past couple months is really creating and tightening the systems so that things in Well Built Business can run without me, and that the marketing that I've been doing can run with my online business manager supporting me, assessing what's actually worthwhile, what's generating results versus what I'm just kind of doing out of habit or hope, and training my team member to own core workflows, not just follow instructions, but co-creating SOPs with her, having her test them, give me feedback, like making sure that I'll be able to know what I can hand off and will be taken care of. Also, increasing efficiency, so maintaining these businesses takes less of my weekly capacity and lower monthly overhead. So those have been some of the things that I've been focusing on, even while starting to chip away at taking some steps to prepare myself to launch the law practice. Because the whole goal for me is to free up enough bandwidth and mental space to launch something new without the existing businesses suffering. I want there to be a surprise and delight when someone books a Rooted VIP day. It shows up in my calendar. It is not double booked. The confirmation goes out. The reminder emails go out. I just want all of that to be able to exist and for me to be able to show up and serve when something pops into my calendar. And because each of the three offers through Well Built Business are one-time engagements, then I can know, oh, great, it's in my calendar. I know how much time that week I'll need to prepare for each of the different engagements, how much I'll need over the next couple days after to do any follow-up materials, and then it will be done. And that's really how I've been wanting to design the service that I offer through Well Built Business. And so this is all about foundation and strategic direction work, getting honest about capacity before I'm adding more. And I'm going to talk about what does launching a new business even look like, whether it's a law practice or anything else, right? I'm going to talk through some of the unsexy foundational work that's on my to-do list right now. So I had to go through the process of activating my law license in the state of Maine. I had to work with the North Carolina bar examiners to just make sure. I wanted to get an ethics opinion to make sure that me living in North Carolina, relying on a Maine license, doing federal trademark practice, like we're going to be all good here, right? So that took a little bit of back and forth, setting up a LLC, getting insurance in place, getting all those quotes, choosing software. I've been on a couple demos over the past couple of weeks to choose which software I'm going to move forward with for case management, for trademark search support. I'm organizing expenses, creating that foundational financial plan of doing some market research, looking at positioning and pricing and packaging, and really understanding how my services are going to fit in compared to what other people might see out there for trademark services. I'm now, next week, going to be jumping into doing SEO research for a new website. I'm going to keep it very simple. I'll be setting it up myself. I know how to do that. Working on what my organic visibility will be for a long game, but really focusing on just starting to do some networking and updating people like, hey, this is going to be happening. If you know anyone that needs trademark, let me know. And already getting some really positive connections and people saying, oh my gosh, send me your link as soon as I can book. I actually have a trademark question myself. So feeling really positive about that. What I have decided is I'm going to do 3 core growth activities for getting the word out about the law firm. It's going to be called Trademarks with Chelsea. And I'm going to focus on SEO, so getting my website and blogging. I'm toying with probably having a podcast as well for Trademarks with Chelsea, because my workflow for how I podcast and my OBM turns it into a blog post is so smooth that it actually is kind of the most efficient way to go about it. And so I'm going to be doing SEO that will involve the podcast and blogging, networking, and teaching. I love, love, love teaching. I'm going to put together a really great presentation. I'm going to do some market research to make sure I'm answering the most relevant questions for business owners that are my ideal audience. And then I'm going to reach out to friends who run masterminds or group programs, certification programs, and ask if they need a trademark expert to come in and teach. That in the past, when I was growing a law practice full-time, teaching was by far the biggest converter for me, because a lot of people want to get their questions answered in a safe environment before deciding they want to invest in legal services. So I'll be doing SEO, networking, and teaching. You might have figured out that I actually didn't say social media in there. I know that in this first wave of getting things launched, it will become a huge distraction if I'm also trying to figure out hooks and carousel templates, and I don't believe it's how I'm going to get my first 10 clients. And so that will be for a future season if I decide that I want to layer it in. And if I just decide I don't want to do social media because these three growth activities are working well enough to keep me busy enough for my part-time practice goals, then I may not layer it in. We'll see. I'm not trying to be everywhere. I picked these three activities because I know I'm good at them. I know I can be consistent. Is this any of this sounding familiar to episode 3, where we talked about really figuring out what your marketing intentions are and what platforms you want to show up on and how often, right? I'm doing all of the things that I teach here on the podcast. So here's kind of like the meta lesson, me demonstrating using the well-built business method to launch a brand new business. I have built a 90-day business plan for this launch using the same process I walk VIP clients through. I got clear on priorities, what has to happen before doors open versus what can come later, what's a nice to have versus a must have. I've been really honest about my own capacity. What is the minimum viable launch? And then what's going to get layered in over the next 90 days or even further out? I have assessed my existing operations first of everything that is going to stay running, because launching on top of other chaos just wasn't going to work for me. And I'm building business systems from the start this time. I'm not going to be retrofitting them later. I am setting up a software system and making sure that my onboarding flows. Like, I'm just doing all the things I know work well for my other businesses and for clients, but from scratch. Basically, I did a business systems audit on my own existing businesses before deciding I could pull something off to launch something new on top of it. So I wanted to see what was working, what wasn't, and what needed tightening before I started to splinter or divide my attention and energy. So all of this to say, I'm sharing this very transparently because I know many of us, whether it's launching an entire new business or launching a new offer, it can just feel like you need some support on how to assess what's going on. Like, where is your time going to be best spent? What is going to feel energetically aligned, strategically appropriate? How could you have systems better backing you so that you could pull some of your energy to do something else that you're excited about? Does any of this sound familiar? So if you're realizing your current business needs to be looked at before you take on something new or before your next season of growth, that is exactly what a business systems audit is for. I come in and do all of this with you, and we assess what areas of your business need more systematizing, more automations, where you have an opportunity to be able to delegate more effectively or have someone else own a certain task in your business so that you can be more in your zone of genius or more in that cycle of going from idea to action on the things that really only you can do. We look at all 6 pillars of the well-built business method and identify which systems need attention first, which would get the best return on investment, which would give you best peace of mind, or which would help your team, even if it's just a team of one like myself, be able to really function more appropriately and with more ownership. So whether you're launching something new, scaling what you have, or just feeling like things aren't running smoothly, this audit gives you clarity on where to focus. I do have availability to take on 1 or 2 business systems audits in the month of July. If you're listening to this live, I will be taking the month of August off from longer calls and picking back up in September. So if you're listening to this in the future, of course, you can just go to the show notes, click over into my calendar and see when my next availability is for a business systems audit. And for planning your own 90-day roadmap, go back and listen to episode 6. There are links in all of the show notes sharing resources and next steps, and I'd be honored to walk any of those next steps with you if you feel that what I'm doing could benefit you. If this episode supported you in some way, opened your mind, got you brainstorming, I would genuinely appreciate if you left a review. It helps more founders who are ready for this level of work actually find the show. And if someone specific came to mind while you were listening, send it to them. The best businesses are built in rooms where people share what's actually working with each other. If you do share this episode onto social media, I'd love to see your takeaway, so make sure to tag me, Well Built Business, on most accounts so I can connect with you and reshare it. The Well Built Business podcast isn't about doing more, it's about building better. And I'm really glad you're here. I'll see you next week.